All right, Carson, Kharchla, we're here. It's the middle of the summer here. Actually, you guys are probably about to start school.
Yeah.
For your final year of college wrestling, you bust a little smirk there.
Yeah.
How tough was the decision to come back? It's a decision a lot of people in your circumstance are kind of weighing the pros and cons. What made you say, yes, I want to come back and wrestle one more year?
Yeah. I mean, it, like you said, tough decision, but not tough and like you don't want to do it, but just, kind of the emotional stress on it. But I think what really just made me want to come back was just talking to, my friends and coaches and people that have been outside of the sport, outside of college wrestling for a little longer than me, just understanding that like this team atmosphere, this chemistry, this brotherhood, like no matter what you do in life, like you're never going to be able to recreate it. And I think after NCAs, I took like a couple weeks off just to myself to, reflect and really like focus on what I wanted. And, I just missed it so much. I missed coming into the room and seeing my teammates, I missed hanging out with them. I missed, cracking jokes. I missed beating up on the younger kids. Like just the whole process of it that you kind of, I think, take for granted almost when you're in it. I really understood that that's what I love and that's what I want to be a part of. And yeah, I love this team. I think we have the best team in the country, and that was just a really big reason, was just the brotherhood, the family connection, and just kind of knowing that if I have the opportunity to do it one more time, I think 100 people in my shoes would make the decision to do it again. So
After NCAs, as you look back on the season, how did you personally assess your performance throughout the year? You had some really high points, high bars where it looked like Carson Kharchla could contend for a national title. NCAs doesn't go probably how you thought it was going to go. Just what was your overall assessment of that year?
yeah, so immediately my reaction was, well, that sucked, like big fail. But once you kind of like step back and look at the whole picture, I took basically a complete year off wrestling with my injury and recovery from surgery. So then coming back, end of December and being able to wrestle and stay healthy all the way through a season was, for me, a really big accomplishment. And then just my wrestling too, I felt like I was, wrestling, maybe at a level, or just my moves and positioning were just, I think, a lot better than how I felt previous years. And that could be because I got surgery and fixed my knee, or, just evolved and matured a little bit just in my own self. But that made me really happy. And then too, it does suck because wrestling, it's like the sport where the NCAA tournament kind of means the most. So when you go in there and, you don't do what you want to do, it feels like you kind of failed. But you really do have to take a step back and just understand that it's a whole, 6 months of work and progress and training and, cutting weight and matches and wrestling and back-to-back tournaments and duels. Once I stopped and took a step back, I was really proud of myself. It was a lot for me to get over with the injury. I didn't even know if I was going to come back this following year. Doctors were telling me I might need more time. So just to be able to do that and compete and wrestle and, wrestle with the top guys and, have those matches where I am contending, that was just really big for me personally with my confidence and belief in myself. So yeah, not the end goal that I wanted, but overall I am really proud and really happy with how I wrestled and performed.
What do you think your potential is for next year? What do you think's possible?
Anything's possible. I definitely think I can win a national title and think I can contend. But I'm not, immune to the fact that I know it's hard and I know guys are getting better every year. And, I think I'm getting better every year, but I also know that I've had a couple of injuries and had some setbacks. But, I think your mind is really powerful. And if you believe, everything negative can happen, it's going to happen. And so I think just, staying positive and motivated and, finding what I love about wrestling is going to keep me on the trajectory that I need to be the best. So I think that's just a real key. And yeah, I believe I can win a national title. I believe I can, contend and help this team, reach whatever goal that we have. But yeah, that's what I believe.
During your time at Ohio State, is there a match that you wrestled in that stands out as a particular particularly like high moment that's like, man, this was like maybe my favorite match I ever wrestled? Maybe not the most important, maybe it was, I don't know. But is there a match like that stands out? And if so, what was it about that match?
Yeah, I think one match that stands out for sure is the Alex Marinelli match here in Cavelli. I think that was 3-4 years ago. Not just a big match, just the pressure, the environment, the stress. Knowing that he was ranked ahead of me didn't really mean anything, but I knew a lot of people were seeing me as it's always his first year competing. He had an injury before. Like, is he going to be able to compete? How's he going to do? So that was just really cool. And I think just the way that match played out at the end, getting the takedown at the last second to secure the win, and then, stalling him out a little bit in the last 10 seconds. I think that was just really big. Kind of the first time I really had to persevere in that college adversity of the heavy hand fight and the guy that's just on you the whole time and you feel like you're just completely overwhelmed. So for me to just find a way to get that takedown and hold on to that win at the end, I think that was a big maturing moment in my wrestling. And then I think another match that was just big is my All-American round. I'd lost in the quarter, so next one you win, and that one was I think it was against Julian Ramirez.
Yeah.
Wrestled him a couple times, but I mean, kid's hell of a wrestler, great wrestler, and that match in particular has just given me all kinds of trouble. And there was really kind of a point where I felt maybe I wasn't going to get it, but God love Tom Ryan. He just stays on you. You
Yeah.
don't really have a choice.
What'd he say? Do you remember?
I don't even remember. It was more so just him yelling, you gotta get it, you gotta get it, we need it. And I was just, I don't know. I mean, by the grace of God, something inside me was just yeah, I gotta do it, And I went for a shot, but my plan wasn't even to get a takedown off a shot. So I got takedown off danger. I don't even know how it really happened, but all I knew is I was so exhausted after the match. Got my hand raised, walked off. Tom was going crazy. We had, I think, Sammy wrestling in the semis too. Mm-hmm. So he smacks me on the head and just runs over to Sammy's match. And I'm I don't know what to do. I gotta go cut weight or something, make weight next day. But yeah, that was just another moment because again, just that adversity, pressure, and kind of had that moment of disbelief in yourself, and then having the people in the corner that really matter the most push you back to that win. So that was pretty cool.
I remember your face was totally, I don't know if you could see out of both your eyes after that match. That was chewed up.
Yeah, that was a tough tournament for sure.
Absolutely. Want to get into your background a little bit. You're the son of a great coach. Could you just give me a little bit, for people that don't know, your dad, his background, what it was like maybe being the son of a elite coach with a different upbringing in wrestling?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my dad's from a small country called Abkhazia. It's right next to Georgia along the Black Sea. Some people recognize it as Georgia, some people recognize it as Russia, depends. It's their own little independent state though, country of Abkhazia. So from there, tons of great wrestlers. Sargush is from there, and a couple others. My dad wrestled in, Medved, Tbilisi, all those tournaments, Urigan, and then growing up, got out of that country, went on the Soviet national team, ended up here, kind of defected a little bit, stayed here, and then met my mom and started, having family, and that's how I was born. And then, just growing up with my dad and that system, it was great. I mean, the best, technique coach that I've ever had in my life and probably will be. Just the way that his mind and his focus was on training and wrestling and how you develop a kid was so different than, the American system. In America, they believe, you compete a lot to get matches in because that gives you experience. And my dad was the opposite. You compete a few times, but you train, every single day. And so my whole, younger years to middle school, I was just training. And I wasn't necessarily competing in tournaments, but I was competing in the room, every single day. So that was my style. I grew up with that, and that's why no one really knew about me till high school, because I only started competing 8th grade, freshman year. And so kind of did that. And, I think at first I struggled a little bit just, with matches, timing, positioning, stuff like that. But, once I kind of got into it a little bit more, I just realized it is the same as practice, but you just have to be a little more aware of your surroundings. So, I mean, that was great. And then, got to high school, wrestled there. And then high school too was kind of interesting, not bad or anything, but just like seeing how my dad's philosophy and training worked with the high school system. Even in high school, we wrestled a lot of matches, a lot of duels. I know some people don't think it's a lot, but for me, growing up, it was. So just being able to learn how to handle that pressure and that load and continue to wrestle, that was a little change for my dad. I think there was a little bit of pushback with how many matches or tournaments I was going to compete at, but I think once we realized, what it was and, the matches I was wrestling and who I was competing against, because not like in college where you're wrestling a top-ranked kid or some guy that's D1 level every weekend. Maybe you go to a local tournament and that's good experience for you, learn your moves, technique. So that was a whole like growing process, but it was great. It was fun. I mean, I still get questions about, growing up, being younger and learning, the Russian system and doing all that and the technique. And I think too, one big difference was I did a lot of freestyle growing up, not a lot of folk style, just because my dad was so heavily in that background, which I loved. It was great, but yeah, definitely needed to learn a little top bottom and not locking your hands when you get on top. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, it's a great experience. I don't know if I'll raise my kid the same, but whatever happens, So.
Yeah. And now headed into your final year, do you feel like the amount of matches you could potentially wrestle, is that something you're gonna look at or talk about with the coaches? Like, hey, maybe I don't do that, just in line with kind of your dad's thinking, or what?
Yeah, I'd say this is more so just in line with me and my body. I have been pretty injury prone the past however many years, and I think that's just something that we want to try to avoid as best as we can. Obviously I am going to talk to the coaches just because I am older, but I'm not really sure what that's going to look like or what we're going to see what I am going to wrestle, what I'm not going to wrestle. But I think the biggest thing is just keep my body healthy and making sure that it's working the right way, so that when it's time for Big Ten dual season, Big Tens, NCAAs, I'm ready to go. So.
Yeah. I was just thinking about how, the idea of you just training every day, this rigorous, up and down, and then like you just getting dropped onto the Ohio scene. Was there like for the people that didn't know, were they like, who is this kid?
Yeah.
Where did he come from? Did you become like almost mythological? Like, yeah, this guy, he's trained by a Russian.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, a little bit, honestly. And it's funny too, because me and my dad look similar, like build-wise, but my dad's got darker skin and black hair, and I'm pale with blonde hair, so we don't look anything alike. So if my dad was in the corner at the time coaching me, they'd be like, who? They knew him, like Moran, but then they're like, who the heck is this kid, And I'm like, oh, that's my dad, So yeah, there was kind of this like sense of, where did this kid come from? Like he just popped out of nowhere. But, there were enough people like in the community who knew me and, wrestling, that once I kind of hit some bigger national tournaments, that was like, okay, like I know who you are, I know who we're like dealing with, it's not someone you can take lightly. So that was kind of cool. But, sometimes I do maybe wish I would have got put in a little bit earlier, because then there was like that sense of, for some reason it was like, oh, this kid just popped up and he's really good. So if we beat him, it's like a really big deal.
Okay.
So sometimes I do wish maybe I would have been put in a little bit earlier, because I know like I got yelled at by a couple parents, a couple kids, like, getting beat in
And
matches.
partying.
And I'm like, hey man, like I'm just here wrestling like you. Not that they can't party and celebrate, it's cool, but don't attack my family or anything for that. But it's all good. It doesn't matter. It's wrestling. People celebrate differently. So, but I mean, yeah, it was an experience, and it was definitely something that that stood out, I think, to most people. I know a couple people that, once they came to my dad's room and met him and like the system they did, they stopped taking their kids to compete as much. And these were people that have been doing, 60, 70 matches a year, and then they just stop competing in general. You know, people are like, man, what's going on? Like, is that guy not letting you compete? And they're like, no, like we're training, you know, but you know, sometimes it's not good. All the stress and pressure of tournaments on, you know, just young kids. It's hard, you know. I think there's a lot of, you know, growing and maturing you have to do. And, you know, if a kid's going to a tournament every weekend and he's losing or winning, you know, like I don't know how really you can, you know, regulate those emotions, those highs and lows that you get and what that develops later. So I feel like that was just a big key, you know, because obviously I had my, you know, share of losses, but I don't think I was ever totally, you know, distraught with a loss or, you know, so happy about a win. I think I was able to keep a pretty, you know, steady emotional state through it all, which, you know, I'm glad about. But yeah, I mean, I can see how it's definitely hard on some kids, you know, losing matches and, you know, they're crying thinking like it's the end of the world. And it's like, hey man, you know, like there's so much more you got to do. Like you're 10, you know, like that loss doesn't mean anything, you know, like you're going to keep wrestling and do more. So yeah, goods and bads to the system,
Of course.
but
All right, 2 more questions for you. One, you wrestled Levi Haynes here. Crazy match. Looked really good. He ends up running you down at the end. What did you take away from that match? He's the guy to beat on paper right now. He is a national champion. He's gonna be the #1 ranked guy. What did you take away from that match?
yeah, I mean, biggest thing is probably just knowing that I can be at that level and wrestle those guys. That match too was just a big match for me. Just, you know, like I said, off the injury and everything else, you know, how was I gonna do? Was I gonna be able to handle the pressure? You know, was he gonna throw anything at me that I wasn't prepared of? Was there gonna be a position that I, you know, needed to work on? And you know, we learned from that and everything, but I think just understanding that, like, hey, you know, the first 5 minutes of the match, you know, you're winning. You're basically there, and you know, you make one little mistake, and you know, he catches you. But again, that's, you know, props to him, and that's just the level of, you know, college wrestling that you're at that point, is that it is just one little mistake. So I mean, great wrestler, great kid. It was a fun, really fun match until I ended up losing. But yeah, I mean, that match was exciting. It was tough. It was gritty, and I mean, I don't think I wrestled him the next time till trials, or World Team Trials. So, I mean, tried to, you know, continue to work on things and improve. But yeah, like you said, he's tough, #1 kid. So.
And then post graduation, what are you planning to do? Are you planning to continue to wrestle, get into coaching outside the sport? What's next for you?
Yeah. I mean, I want to continue wrestling. I want to try to, you know, at least, you know, contend, try for a spot at the 28, you know, Olympic team, see how that goes. And then as far as like coaching or anything, I mean, I would love to coach. It's not like a dying passion of mine where, you know, if it doesn't work out, I'm going to be totally distraught and upset about it. So I think, you know, just kind of figuring out the next step. But after this year, yeah, continue to wrestle, hopefully here at the RTC, or if not, you know, another RTC. But continue to wrestle, make a world team, make an Olympic team, and, you know, try to represent this country. So.
Cool. Do you feel like you're an 86 kilogram, or would you make the cut down to 74?
Yeah, so that's another thing I gotta figure out. 86, I feel like it's a little too big for me. I mean, I don't even hit that, you know, naturally. So to even wrestle that might be a little tough. But then also 74 kilos, it's a little bit more of a cut from 79 kilos. So I got to figure a few things out and just kind of, you know, talk to my coaches, talk to my family, see what's the best move. But I know whatever I decide, you know, with their help, I'll be fine. So.
Awesome. Well, appreciate your time,
Yeah.
Carson. You got anything else before we let you go?
No, thank you guys for coming.
Thanks, Carson.